Hey guys, tonight we step into the sun-drenched streets of ancient Rome, where the air hums with Latin chatter and the scent of fresh baked bread mingles with olive oil. You're a woman in this sprawling empire, navigating a world of marble temples and muddy alleys. It's vibrant, chaotic, and, let's be real, you probably won't survive the week without a sharp wit and a knack for dodging runaway carts. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake at dawn, the first rays sneaking through your window's wooden shutters. Your insula apartment, think a cramped, ancient tenement, creaks as neighbors stir. If you're lucky, you're a citizen's wife, maybe with a slave to fetch water from the fountain. If not, you're hauling that amphora yourself, weaving through crowds of toga-clad men and street vendors, hawking garum, that fishy sauce Romans slather on everything. Your day's a whirlwind, cooking, weaving, managing the household. Even elite women, draped in silk stolas, oversee slaves rather than lounge. The poet Juvenal griped about wives who rule the roost. So you're no wallflower. Your voice carries weight at home. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some women used crocodile dung as a face mask, believing it whitened their skin. Sounds gross, but beauty standards were wild. Lead-based makeup was the real killer. Historians still argue whether most women had real autonomy or just influence through men. Your mornings might feel free, bargaining for figs at the market, but the law ties you to a male guardian. Still, you're no damsel. You slip a bronze hairpin into your updo, sharp enough to fend off a handsy drunk. By noon, you're haggling with a butcher, your sandals caked in forum dust. Life's tough, but you're tougher. The streets pulse with energy. You pass a priestess sprinkling incense at a shrine, her white veil catching the breeze. You nod to a baker's wife, kneading dough, her arms dusted with flour. Everyone's got a hustle. If you're wealthy, you host a midday meal, serving peacock tongues to impress your husband's clients. If you're poor, it's barley porridge again, maybe spiked with a stolen herb sprig for flavor. You joke to your friend, "At least the rats don't charge rent." She laughs, but you both know survival's no jest. Afternoon brings a brief lull. You might visit the baths, where women gossip in steamy calderia, swapping tales of cheating husbands or senator scandals. It's your social hub, like a Roman TikTok, but with better mosaics. You scrub with olive oil, scraping it off with a strigil, feeling human again. But don't get comfy. Dinner prep looms. You're back in your kitchen, grinding spelt, cursing the smoky hearth. Your husband, if he's around, expects a spread, even if it's just lentils and a half-decent wine. Night falls, and Rome doesn't sleep. Torches flicker as you lock up. Praying to Vesta, your hearth stays lit. You're exhausted, but there's a spark in you. Tomorrow's another grind, but you'll face it with grit and a sly smile. After all, you're a Roman woman. Chaos is your canvas. You're swept into the whirlwind of Roman marriage, where love's a nice bonus, but deals seal the day. The morning sun glints off your bronze mirror as you prep for a betrothal meeting, your stomach nodding. At 15, you're old enough to be a bride, and your father's already sizing up suitors like they're livestock. Marriage in Rome's a contract, not a rom-com. Families swap daughters to cement alliances or climb social ladders. The historian Tacitus noted elite weddings were more about power than passion, and you feel that truth today. Your dowry's on the table, a chest of linens, some silver, maybe a vineyard if you're fancy. You just hope your groom's not a total creep. Here's the quirky bit. Some brides carried a spindle to the altar, symbolizing their domestic role. Imagine twirling wool mid-vows. Talk about multitasking. Historians still argue whether these unions gave women leverage or just chained them to new masters. You're dressed in a saffron veil, your hair parted with a spear tip for luck, which honestly feels like overkill. Your mother whispers, "Smile, it's only forever." You roll your eyes but comply, knowing divorce is an option. Roman laws surprisingly chill about splits, especially if he's a drunk. The ceremony's a blur. You clasp hands with your groom, a stranger twice your age, muttering, "Ubi to Gaius, ego Gaia." It's less, "I do," and more, "I'm in." Guests shower you with walnuts. Yep, nuts for fertility. You'd laugh, but one hits your forehead. The feast follows, all roast boar and honeyed wine, with your new mother-in-law eyeing you like you're a faulty amphora. You're now a matrona, expected to run a household, birth heirs, and not embarrass the family. No pressure. Night falls, and the torchlit procession to your new home feels like a parade for a prisoner. Neighbors chant bawdy jokes, and you blush under your veil. Your groom lifts you over the threshold. Superstition says tripping brings bad luck. You're thinking, great, one more thing to worry about. Inside, you're alone with him. The bed strewn with rose petals, but your heart's racing for all the wrong reasons. You joke to yourself, at least the walnuts stop flying. It's a weak laugh, but it steadies you. By morning, you're settling into your role. You oversee slaves, check the pantry, and dodge your husband's moods. If you're lucky, he's kind, maybe even charming. If not, you've got wits to outmaneuver him. Some women, like Livia Drusilla, turned marriage into a political chessboard, nudging emperors from the shadows. You're no empress, but you've got moves. You slip a love charm under his pillow, crushed herbs, and a prayer to Venus. It's probably nonsense, but you're not taking chances. Days blend into weeks. You host dinners, charm his clients, and keep the household humming. You're not just a wife. You're a manager, diplomat, and occasional spy. Gossip at the baths hints your husband's eyeing a promotion. Your job's to make it happen. You smile at his boss, pour extra wine, and drop subtle hints about his brilliance. It's exhausting, but you're good. You quip to a friend, marriage is just politics with worse catering. She snorts, knowing you're half serious. As months pass, you carve out small freedoms. You visit your mother, barter for spices, or sneak a scroll of poetry when he's out. Marriage binds you, but it's not a cage. Not entirely. You're learning the game. And in Rome, that's half the battle. You're thrust into the raw intensity of Roman motherhood, where joy and peril dance a tightrope. The air in your cramped bedroom is thick with sage and sweat as a midwife barks orders. You're pregnant, maybe for the first time, and the weight of expectation, yours, your husband's, Rome's, presses harder than the child within. Giving birth is your duty. Sons mean legacy. Daughters mean alliances. The physician Serenus wrote detailed guides on midwifery, stressing hygiene, but you're still at the gods' mercy. 1 in 10 mothers don't make it, and you're gripping a Juno amulet, praying you're not that one. Here's the odd bit. Some women chewed parsley to speed things up, believing it nudged labor along. Sounds like a salad gone wrong, but desperation breeds weird remedies. Historians still argue whether high infant mortality hardened mothers or broke them. Graves of tiny bones suggest both. You're on a birthing chair, a wooden contraption with a crescent cutout, surrounded by women chanting encouragements. Your mother's there, her face a mix of pride and fear. "Push, girl," she says, like it's that simple. You'd snap back, but another contraction steals your breath. The room spins, oil lamps flickering. You curse, then laugh. Did you just yell at a goddess? The midwife, all business, promises Juno's watching. Hours blur. Pain becomes your world. But then, a cry. Your daughter's born, slippery and squalling. Relief floods you, though a son would have thrilled your husband more. You cradle her, whispering her name, maybe Claudia, after your grandmother. You joke to the midwife. She's louder than a forum orator. She chuckles, but you're already thinking of the next hurdle, keeping her alive. Childhood's a gauntlet. You swaddle your baby in wool, not just for warmth, but to shape her limbs. Romans love their straight-backed kids. You hire a wet nurse if you're wealthy. If not, you're nursing yourself, dodging superstitions about bad milk. You hang a bulla charm around her neck to ward off evil spirits. Every cough terrifies you. Fevers claim too many. You offer figs at Vesta's shrine, bargaining with the gods. Take my best cloak, just keep her breathing, you mutter, half serious. As she grows, you teach her what matters, weaving, modesty, how to charm without crossing lines. If you're elite, she'll learn letters. If not, she's spinning wool by 6. You're her first goddess, but Rome's a harsh teacher. You catch her mimicking your market haggling and grin. She's got your fire, but nights bring worry. Another pregnancy looms. Your body's barely recovered. You quip to your sister, kids are cute, but the gods owe me a nap. She nods, knowing the toll. If you're poor, you're back to work days after birth. Baby strapped to your chest while you knead dough or scrub tunics. Wealthy? You're managing wet nurses and tutors, ensuring your kids outshine your rivals. Either way, motherhood's your crown and cross. You hear of Fulvia, who birthed future consuls, and wonder if your daughter's destined for greatness or just survival. Years pass, and your daughter's now 10, braiding her hair like yours. You're pregnant again, the cycle restarting. Each birth feels like tempting fate, but you're a Roman woman. Resilience is your birthright. You kiss your daughter's forehead, whispering, "You'll be fiercer than me." For now, you rest, one hand on your belly, ready for whatever comes. You're plunged into the dazzling world of Roman fashion, where every fold of your stola broadcasts your status. The morning light catches your bronze mirror as you drape a woolen tunic. Its dye, saffron if you're wealthy, faded ochre if not, setting the day's tone. You're a walking billboard in Rome's crowded streets, where eyes judge your wealth, virtue, and taste. The poet Ovid mocked women's obsession with looks, claiming they'd bankrupt a man for a fine shawl. You smirk, pinning your pala shawl, knowing a good outfit can sway a merchant or silence a rival. Here's the quirky bit. Some women glued barley grains to their faces as fake beauty marks, thinking it screamed chic. You're tempted to try it, but your friend's barley face looked like a baking mishap. Historians still argue whether fashion gave women power or just trapped them in vanity's cage. You opt for a classic look, a floor-length stola, cinched with a belt to flaunt that modest but curvy vibe. Your hair's the real canvas, piled high in curls, secured with bone pins. If you're rich, a slave weaves in gold threads. If not, you're wrestling your locks alone, cursing split ends. You step into the forum, sandals slapping stone, leather soles for the poor, cork platforms for the elite. Yours are mid-tier, sturdy but plain. You envy the patrician gliding by, her purple-trimmed palla screaming, "Senator's wife." She's slathered in Terusa, that lead-based face cream you avoid since hearing it rots skin. You stick to chalk powder, dusted lightly, and a touch of ochre on your lips. Natural, but not too natural, you quip to your sister, who's fussing with her own veil. She laughs, but you both know appearances are armor. Jewelry's your flex. A bronze bangle jingles on your wrist. Maybe a glass bead necklace if you've saved up. The elite sport emeralds or pearls, but you're content with your iron ring, your husband's gift, doubling as a knuckle duster in a pinch. You pass a street vendor hawking Persian perfume. It's probably just rose water, but you haggle anyway. Smelling divine is half the battle. You joke, if I smell like a goddess, maybe I'll be treated like one. The vendor chuckles, tossing in a free vial. Afternoon brings the baths, fashion's true stage. You shed your stola for a linen subligar, joining women preening in the tepidarium. Gossip flies, whose dye job faded, who dared a Gallic-style cloak. You admire a friend's new fibula pin, shaped like a dolphin. Stole it from my cousin, she winks. You're all peacocks here, but it's fun. You scrub with olive oil, dreaming of silk tunics you'll never afford. Back home, you redrape your stola, repin your hair, ready for dinner guests. Night falls, and you're hosting. Your stola's fresh. Your earrings catch the lamplight. Your husband nods approval. Your look seals his deals. You overhear a guest whisper, "She's no Livia, but she's got style." You smile, knowing Livia's power started with a well-placed hairpin. Fashion's your game, and you play it sharp. You're diving into the elusive world of Roman women's education, where knowledge is a privilege, not a right. Morning light spills into your home as you watch your daughter trace letters on a wax tablet. Her small fingers clumsy but determined. Most girls your daughter's age are spinning wool, not studying, but you're stubborn. She'll learn to read, even if it's just shop signs. Roman girls rarely got formal schooling. The historian Plutarch praised educated mothers, but only elites could afford tutors. You're no senator's wife, so you teach her yourself, stealing moments between chores. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some women memorize epic poetry to impress dinner guests, reciting Virgil like it's a party trick. Imagine you juggling laundry and the Aeneid. Your neighbors would roll their eyes. Historians still argue whether literacy empowered women or just made them fancy ornaments for men. You don't care for debates. You want your daughter sharp enough to spot a bad contract. You scrawl a line of Catullus on her tablet, smirking at its cheeky romance. "Don't tell your father," you whisper, and she giggles, scratching the words deeper. If you're wealthy, you'd hire a Greek tutor to drill your kids in rhetoric and math. You're not, so you barter with a neighbor, a freedman scribe, to teach basic letters. He's grumpy but fair, muttering about wasting ink on girls. You bite your tongue. His lessons are gold. You recall your own childhood, sneaking peeks at your brother's scrolls. You taught yourself enough to balance household accounts, outsmarting a shady merchant once. Numbers don't lie, but men do. You quip to your friend, who nods, her own literacy hard-won. Education's a patchwork for women. Elite ladies like Cornelia, mother of the Gracchi, were famed for their learning, shaping sons into statesmen. You're no Cornelia, but you dream big. You tell your daughter stories of Hypatia, a far-off scholar, to spark her curiosity. She asks, "Can I be a philosopher?" You hesitate. Rome's not kind to brainy women, but say, "Why not?" Her grin's worth the lie. You joke, "Just don't debate the emperor, kid." She laughs, but you both know the world's limits. Afternoon brings practical lessons. You show her how to measure grain, calculate costs, and charm a baker into a discount. All schooling Rome won't teach. If you're a freed woman, you might know a trade, like midwifery, passing those skills down. Enslaved women, though, get no chance. Your heart aches for the girl scrubbing your neighbor's floor, her mind as trapped as her body. You slip her a fig, wishing you could offer more. By evening, you're exhausted, but your daughter's reading a simple poem aloud. It's halting, but you beam. You're giving her a weapon, knowledge, that Rome rarely grants women. As you tuck her in, you whisper, "Learn everything, then hide it." She nods, eyes bright. You're shaping a mind, and in Rome, that's a quiet rebellion. You're swept into the sacred haze of Roman religion, where women wield spiritual clout amid incense and chants. Dawn bathes the city as you slip on a white veil, joining a procession to Vesta's temple. The flame there burns eternal, tended by Vestal virgins, Rome's holiest women, sworn to chastity. You're no Vestal, but as a matron, you've got rituals of your own, offering spelt cakes at a household shrine to keep your family safe. Religion's your domain. The poet Ovid noted women's piety shaped Rome's soul, their prayers as vital as any senator's decree. Here's the quirky bit. Some women danced barefoot at the Lupercalia festival, believing it boosted fertility. Picture you, dodging drunken revelers, hoping for a baby. Your neighbors definitely gossiped. Historians still argue whether these rites empowered women or just tied them to domestic roles. You clutch a clay figurine of Juno, queen of the gods, and murmur for your daughter's health. The shrine's tiny, tucked in your kitchen, but it's your hotline to the divine. You light a wick, the smoke curling like a promise. You trek to the Forum Boarium, where a priestess sacrifices a dove to Ceres. Her authority awes you. Women rarely lead public rites, but when they do, crowds hush. You join the chant, your voice blending with others, a rare moment of equality. Back home, you prep for Bonadia's women-only festival. No men allowed, just wine, music, and secrets shared under moonlight. You giggle with friends, reenacting myths, maybe sneaking an extra sip. To Bonadia, you toast, half joking, keep my husband clueless. The room roars with laughter. Religion's not all warm fuzzies. You dodge charlatans selling blessed amulets. Your cousin swore one cured her fever, but you're skeptical. Superstition grips Rome. You tie a red thread around your wrist to ward off the evil eye, just in case. If you're elite, you might consult an oracle, her cryptic words costing a fortune. You stick to omens like a raven's flight path, whispering, left for luck, right for ruin. It's nonsense, but it calms you. Evening brings a family rite. You sprinkle salt on the hearth, honoring the Lars, household spirits. Your daughter mimics you, her small hands steady. You teach her Vesta's hymn, knowing faith will anchor her in Rome's chaos. You quip, pray hard, kid, the gods are picky. She grins, tossing in extra salt. You're passing down more than ritual. It's identity, resilience, a spark of the divine. As you bed down, the city hums with distant chants. You're no priestess, but your prayers carry weight. In Rome, a woman's faith can move gods, or at least make her feel like it. You're thrust into the gritty grind of Roman women's work, where survival means hustling in a man's world. The sun's barely up as you trudge to the market, arms loaded with baskets of dyed wool to sell. Most women don't sit idle. Rome's economy leans on their labor, from weaving to vending. The historian Livy praised women who toiled for the Republic's good, but you're just trying to afford tonight's bread. Your hands, calloused from spinning, tell a story of endless days. If you're lucky, you're a freed woman running a stall. If not, you're a slave scrubbing someone else's villa. Here's the quirky bit. Some women sold magic, love potions, brewed from herbs and dubious promises. Think ancient Etsy scams. You've seen a friend slip one into her husband's wine, winking like she cracked a code. Historians still argue whether work gave women independence or just swapped one master for another. You're at the forum, haggling over your wool. A merchant tries to lowball you, but you fire back. My dye's worth more than your manners. He grumbles but pays up. You're no pushover. If you're poor, you're a laundress, baker, or midwife. Jobs men sneer at, but can't live without. You knead dough at a bakery, the oven's heat singeing your brow, or deliver babies in dim insulae, whispering to Juno for luck. Wealthy women don't work, but you know better. They manage estates, charm clients, and juggle slaves like CEOs. You admire a tavern keeper, a freedwoman who pours wine in witty comebacks. Men pay for both, she quips, tossing you a fig. You laugh, pocketing it for lunch. Work's no picnic. You dodge leering customers and tax collectors who assume you're cheating. If enslaved, your labor's not yours. Your mistress claims every thread you weave. You pass a girl carrying water, her shoulders slumped. You want to help, but your own load's heavy. You mutter, "Gods, give us a break," half joking, knowing they won't. Still, you keep moving. Some women, like Eumakia, a Pompeian businesswoman, built fortunes in trade. You're no Eumakia, but you dream of a shop, maybe selling those love potions for kicks. Afternoons a blur. You barter wool for oil, then rush home to cook. Your daughter helps, learning your trade. Sell high, love low, you tell her, smirking. She nods, stacking skeins. Work binds you to Rome's pulse. Every coin you earn is a small defiance. As dusk settles, you count your earnings, meager but yours. You're a cog in the empire, but a tough one, spinning Rome's wealth with every thread. You're pulled into the shadowy game of Roman power, where women wield influence from behind the empire's thrones. Morning light filters through your window as you overhear your husband strategizing with a senator, his voice low. You're no empress, but you know the score. Women like Livia, Drusilla shaped Rome without ever holding office. Tacitus wrote that Livia steered Augustus like a ship, and you're learning to nudge your own household's course. Your job's subtle. Charm the right guests, drop the right hints, keep the wrong secrets. Here's the quirky bit. Some women used coded messages in their embroidery, stitching political gossip into tunics. Imagine you, needle in hand, threading warnings about a rival. Your sister swears she's tried it. Historians still argue whether these women were masterminds or just pawns in men's games. You're at a dinner party, pouring wine for a magistrate. You smile, laugh at his all jokes, and casually mention your husband's brilliant plan. He nods, impressed. Later, you whisper to your husband, "You owe me." He grunts, but you've earned a favor. Power's a tightrope. If you're elite, you host salons where poets and politicians mingle. You steer talk toward your family's goals, all while serving peacock tongues. If you're lower class, your power's quieter. Maybe you slip a merchant dirt on a competitor, securing a deal. You recall that crocodile dung face mask from your market days. Beauty was power then, and it's power now. You quip to a friend, "A good stola's worth more than a vote." She laughs, knowing Rome's Senate has no seats for you. Some women push too far. Messalina, Claudius's wife, schemed so boldly she got executed. You're careful, dropping hints like breadcrumbs breadcrumbs, never boulders. At the baths, you hear whispers of Agrippina, who's angling for her son Nero's rise. She's ruthless, and you're not, but you admire her nerve. You joke, if I had her guts, I'd run the forum. Your friend snorts, splashing you with water. Evening brings a tense moment. Your husband's rival visits, probing for weaknesses. You play the perfect Matrona, deflecting with small talk about Vesta's flame. Later, you warn your husband of the man's ambition. He listens, rare, but you're no fool. You're no Livia, but you've got her knack for listening, watching, shaping outcomes. As you snuff the lamps, you feel Rome's pulse. Power flows through men, but women like you keep it moving. You're plunged into the brutal reality of life as an enslaved woman in Rome, where your body and will belong to another. Dawn breaks, but there's no rest. You're already scrubbing floors in a wealthy domus, your knees raw against cold mosaic tiles. Enslaved women made Rome run, from cooking to nursing elite children. Yet their names rarely survive in records. The poet Martial mentioned slaves' labor with casual disdain, but you feel its weight every moment. You're one of millions, your freedom a distant dream, sold for a few sesterces at a market stall. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some enslaved women were trained as hairdressers, crafting elaborate updos for mistresses while hiding their own hair under rags. You've seen it. Your friend weaves gold into a patrician's curls, her own hands trembling from hunger. Historians still argue whether small acts of resistance, like spitting in the soup, gave slaves agency or just fleeting revenge. You're in the kitchen now, grinding barley under your mistress's watchful eye. She's the same woman who admired your stolas dye at the market years ago, before debt stole your freedom. You bite back a curse, focusing on the mortar. Your day's a blur of tasks, sweeping, fetching water, dodging the master's wandering hands. You're invisible until you're needed, then judged for every misstep. If you're skilled, maybe a seamstress or midwife, you're valued but never equal. You mend a tunic, stitching faster than usual, hoping for a scrap of bread. Your mistress praises your work, then snaps when you pause to stretch. You quip to yourself, at least the thread doesn't yell. It's a weak joke, but it keeps you sane. Some enslaved women bore their master's children, a grim path to favor or danger. You've heard of one freed for her loyalty, now running a shop. You cling to that story, though freedom's rare. You pass a girl, younger than your daughter, carrying amphorae. Her eyes are dull, but you slip her an olive, a tiny rebellion. You mutter, Juno, see her through, knowing the gods rarely listen to slaves. Night falls, and you're allowed a corner of the cellar to sleep, straw poking through your thin blanket. You dream of your old life, market haggling, your daughter's laugh. You're not broken, though. You hum a tune from your village, soft enough not to wake the others. It's defiance, small but yours. In Rome, you're property, but your spirit's still a spark they can't douse. You're standing at the crossroads of time, reflecting on the enduring legacy of Roman women, their lives etched into the empire's bones. The sun dips low, casting golden light over the forum's crumbling columns, where your footsteps echo those of matrons, slaves, and priestesses. You're no longer just one woman. You carry their collective strength, from the market hagglers to the empresses pulling strings. The historian Suetonius wrote of women who shaped Rome's destiny, yet many names are lost, their stories woven into the city's pulse. You're here to honor them, tracing their mark on a world that still feels their weight. Here's the quirky bit. Some women inscribed curses on lead tablets, tossing them into wells to hex rivals. Think ancient Yelp reviews with a magical twist. You chuckle, imagining yourself cursing a shady merchant, your stylus sharp as your wit. Historians still argue whether women's influence was a quiet revolution or just survival's byproduct. You wander past a temple, its faded frescoes showing mothers, weavers, lovers. They're not just art, they're proof you existed, laughed, fought. You touch the stone, feeling their fire, like that crocodile dung face mask you laughed about ages ago. Your journey's shown you resilience. You've birthed children, haggled for wool, whispered prayers to Vesta, all while dodging Rome's rules. Women like Cornelia, mother of reformers, or Eumachia, whose trade empire funded statues, proved you could bend history. Even the enslaved girl you gave an olive, she's part of this tapestry, her defiance a thread no whip could snap. You quip to yourself, Rome's marble's nice, but we're the real pillars. It's a soft jab, but it lands. As twilight settles, you sit by the Tiber, its waters murmuring secrets. Your daughter's face flashes in your mind, her learning, her spark. She'll carry this legacy, maybe weaving her own coded embroidery, like those sly messages you admired. You're not Livia, but you've shaped your corner of Rome, and that's enough. The stars emerge, each a story, and you feel whole. Now, let the day's weight slip away, your breath slowing as Rome fades into a gentle hum. Picture the Tiber's soft ripples, catching moonlight, carrying whispers of those women, strong, sly, eternal. You're safe here, wrapped in their legacy, no need to fight or haggle. The city's chaos softens, its stones cool under starlight, inviting rest. Feel your shoulders ease, your eyelids grow heavy as their voices blend into a lullaby, urging you to drift. You've walked their paths, felt their fire. Now, let sleep cradle you like a mother's arms. The stars keep watch, and Rome's heart beats on, steady, warm, forever. Good night, sweet dreamer.